It's time for coffee. Grab a cup and join us. MTA International USA Studios presents Coffee Time.
Welcome to Coffee Time. I'm your host, Zeeshan. As you know, Hurricane Maria has done a lot of damage to Puerto Rico. And last episode, we had a group of volunteers who shared their experience about their trip. In today's episode, we're going to dig deeper and have more conversation about their stories, their experiences, and what they actually felt on the ground. So with that, let me introduce you to my panel. On my left, I have Dr. Lughmani. He's a practicing physician. Next to him, I have Sarmat Siddiqui. He is an IT professional. On my right side, I have Mazhar Mansoor. He is a management consultant. And next to him, I have Naeem Mirza, who is a student at Montgomery College pursuing his degree in biotechnology. So guys, once you got to Puerto Rico, right, and you're ready, and we heard all about your preparation and everything in our last episode, tell us what your feeling were at the ground and what did you see, what the conditions were. So give us a sense, a taste of what you were experiencing there.
When I first arrived there, I got there by plane, and then Salman Sheikh picked me up, and we drove to the house. And as I was driving by,
So Salman Sheikh is another volunteer or with
no,
you? Or?
He was the local lead.
He's one of the local leads.
He was the local lead for
Okay.
the whole operation. So
Okay.
yeah. So as we were driving by, he, showed us around. We saw a lot of the houses that were made out of wood. They were completely destroyed. The only structures that were really still up were made out of cement. So a lot of houses were destroyed. There was a lot of trees down.
people are living in their home. Like, how are they living in the broken homes without roof or camps, or they're actually living in these broken facilities?
Some people, they go to their relatives or neighbor's house, but there are a few that are still in their pretty broken homes.
Yeah, because
Actually, even the houses were made of concrete, their doors were blown out, so they had no doors. Wow. They have no windows.
Yeah.
And we did home visits, and we went to these homes, and there are no doors. So we went in, and they said that the doors were blown out during the storm, and then they are so poor they cannot replace it.
And you use the word home visit. A lot of our viewers might not know what the home visits are. Can you explain them the home visits are and what did you guys do with that?
Yeah, so when we arrived in Vieques Island, which is a small island off the coast of Maine, Puerto Rico, it's very hard to access, and that's where the biggest need was. So it is a small island. It has 9,000 population and only 6,000 remaining. The rest whoever could go out. And there is most of the people who are remaining are elderly.
Yeah.
And they are elderly, they're sick, they have arthritis, lots of them have wounds on their body because they can't move, so they get ulcers. So they needed help. So when we went there is no local doctor, as we talked about last episode. So the Red Cross has a list of all those elderly patients who cannot leave their bed and they need help. So we then worked with them, and then you did home visits to help them.
Right. And these people are waiting for help for months, right? So they had given the list that, hey, we need water, we need this, we need medical help. And until Humanity First came to the island, there was no help. People were not getting visited at home. And Humanity First basically took that initiative and started driving down to a local house.
There are tons of people in pain or in hunger. And
That's correct.
They have nothing to do. They just sit and wait until somebody reach out to them.
And I think the biggest thing for me is just to see that this is United States. This island is part of the United States.
That, yeah.
And the kind of devastation, there is no power there. There was no power for last 2 months at that time.
So the whole city, there's no power. I mean,
There is no power.
At
the center of the city, mayor's office and around that area, so they finally set up a small power generator, and some area had a power supply. And some people who could afford had their own generator, but on the island there was no central power supply, and it was months from being restored, actually, as we were told.
Even the hospital, they didn't have the electricity, and then finally one of the major company came in and they set up some solar support, and they can provide the critical area of the hospital.
Yeah, I think it was Tesla, they said, they was trying to set up some temporary solar-based power supply there.
Wow.
But
And as
the
you know,
main grid was down.
the hospital, there was no hospital because the hospital building was damaged to a level that they cannot put
Yeah,
patients in
the
there. So
building
they
was
were in
condemned.
tents.
Right.
So the hospital was tents, and the tents were supplied by electricity with these solar panels.
So they're not, actually that's pretty good. So the green energy is helping a little bit with, powering the locals.
And when we got there, there was only one part-time primary care physician on the island at that time, and needs were like all types of needs.
Right.
You have patients with all type of issues, and one physician, primary care physician, who worked part-time. And as Sarmad mentioned before, how many patients did he see a day?
10.
And people would line up like early in the
Early
morning,
morning.
and when he's done seeing 10 patients, he did not take appointments.
Exactly.
So you have to
first
be
come,
there
first serve.
Right.
And that was the only health care available on the island when we got there.
One of the interesting things that there was this lady who came in who wasn't sick herself, but she came into our medical center because her neighbor was in pain, and the neighbor was waiting on medicine for weeks. She had gone to the Red Cross and gave them the list of medicine the neighbor needed, but they could not deliver it. And she came into the Humanity First Medical Center, and she basically gave us, over the prescription, and we gave her the medicine, and she was trying to pay us, thinking that we're just another pharmacy since we have. But once she found out that, hey, we're just there to help out, and anything that we're providing is free of charge.
And that's the most amazing thing that you
Right.
experience when you do something and you realize how appreciative people are. The love and the thankfulness that they express is just beyond words.
Right. And Dr. Lughmani was sharing the story, which is very interesting to me, about this lady, who came and she was in pain.
Yeah. So actually, there's a patient which he's talking about. It was a cancer patient.
Right.
Who had cancer spread and was in severe pain, and medicine was prescribed, and she didn't have that medicine for more than 2 weeks.
Right.
And this lady, who is a neighbor, was going around trying to find that medicine for 2 weeks. And when she came to our clinic, and she was brought in, and then we had those medicines, and she was so excited to just hear that we have the medicine. Apparently, even the pharmacy is short on medicines. It's a small one pharmacy there, and they don't have all the medicines and supplies there. And we fortunately had them, so we gave them the medicines, and she was very happy. She gave me her card, her insurance card, as if we are going to get that, just like a pharmacy. And we told her that we are a volunteer organization and it's free.
Right.
And she was very appreciative that we are doing that. She said even Red Cross could not help. She could not get to the pharmacy. She's willing to pay, and they just don't have it.
Yeah, Mudassar actually interviewed her later on, and she spoke for like 15 minutes, and she was very, very appreciative of all the help she got.
And also, it wasn't just the patients that were thankful. It was basically the population in general. I remember when I had to go back to the main island to pick up some more people, I went by the ferry, but I didn't have my ticket with me. So I went up to the people who would admit me onto the ferry. I said, I'm with the people in the blue shirts. And we were, the whole team had blue shirts.
First team, the blue
exactly.
shirts, right?
And so, they said, you're with Humanity First, and they let me hop on the ferry. I didn't even have a ticket or anything.
Right. And you were interacting with locals, because again, even in the clinic, weren't you like the first point of contact when patients are coming in? So you're really meeting at the point of where they're getting excited about the clinic and so forth. Yeah. In last episode, you mentioned about, you give us a taste of what was on the ground. Like you saw the animals running around and the horses and so forth. So what did you guys see on the street? How people are living? What did you see on the streets? And give us people a perspective.
One of the interesting thing that, at least for me, was that there was no electricity, but the main town of Isabella, where we had our clinic set up, they were providing internet service from time to time. So these kids from high school, they would just come up. So it was like a big community where kids would just come in just to hang out, so they can communicate with the others, their siblings who are maybe on the mainland for a short time. So whenever there was a the internet available for them.
Right.
And that was kind of another interesting part. That kind of helped us, because when they were coming in there, they saw Humanity First sign, and it was kind of, the word was getting out. People were kind of knowing, okay, there is a medical center where they can come in and get help.
Right.
And despite not having electricity, people just, life goes on as usual. They still have their music playing loud as they would. Still, everybody's having fun in the plaza.
Right.
Life as usual, pretty much.
So life still continues on the ground, even if there's a.
Yeah, they're very resilient people.
Right, right. What other organization did you see beside? Was there any collaboration between you and the other organization on the ground, or mostly you work?
So there is not too many actually in Vieques. There was Red Cross, and interestingly, Red Cross.
Medicare was there.
Yeah. So there's Red Cross there, who were working as a glue in terms of in their office, all the other people would come and make plans for the day.
Okay.
But they didn't have any doctor. Then there was a local organization called Vieques Love, which are local people who got together and they wanted to do something since nobody was really helping them. And then there was an organization came only for 2 weeks called AmeriCares. And the interesting story about AmeriCares is that when we went to Puerto Rico, we went to the main island and we wanted to do help there. And we were helping, trying to do this clinic. There is a city clinic where our doctors were going and helping out patients. And that's where this organization came to us and said, we really need somebody in Vieques, which is a small island, and there is a huge need. The hospital is destroyed, but we don't have doctors. So, and this is a $4 billion big organization, and they couldn't get a doctor to volunteer. And we had these doctors who are 6 team members with 1 or 2 doctors. With every team member, we had them ready, scheduled for the next 2 months. So we had the doctors. So that's how we actually decided that we want to go to Vieques. So that was one organization. We worked with them for 2 weeks, but then they left. Right. And then there was individuals, activists like this guy, Baby, who was a veterinarian. Right. No, not veterinarian. He was a vet.
Was he there by himself?
He was doing alone. He said he just wants here to help the vets. And they were
the veterans organization. And the mayor's office was extremely helpful. They provided us all the resources pretty much.
Right.
That we needed at once.
Also, we worked with the Vieques Love.
Oh, yeah.
Mark from Vieques Love, he helped us with.
One of the nicest guy you would ever meet, and he was very supportive of all of our work. He provided us all the resources.
Right.
We used his office, and he visited us. He connected us with all the right people. So yeah, a lot of stakeholders there actually, and not just that, a lot of people actually work with us. There was one lady who was with us all the time. She was with Red Cross. What was her name?
Olivia.
Olivia.
Ovida.
And there are other people, we'll probably see it in pictures later on. One lady was at the reception signing people in. There was one lady who was working full-time with us in the clinic, sitting at the door, greeting people, letting them in, telling them when the office will open and close and who is available, because language was a big challenge. And there were always people who are working with us as translators,
right,
interpreters. So there's a lot of help here and there, and we were actually recruiting people there. Anytime with somebody, if we were short on somebody who can translate things for us, we'll ask the patient, "Oh, you can speak
do you
English?"
speak English? And they'll come in. Even one of the ladies, we recruited her. Yeah, even one of the girl who came in to check herself, and her English was somewhat better than other ones. So we asked her, "Hey, do you want to come in the next day?" And she's like, "Yeah, sure, I'll come in." So she came in, actually helped us for a couple hours the next day. Just translating, helping us communicate with the locals, and
that's one of the things I learned. Just keep asking for help. You don't have something, you need it, ask it, clearly articulate it. Worst thing that could happen, people won't be able to help. But in most cases, it's amazing how people were actually, they wanted to help, they wanted to be part of all the good work that
it sounds like it's
being done there.
Unfortunate situation in a very disaster area, but it feels like the natural human tendency to help each other comes out, and they
Right.
start to bring people
absolutely.
together, locals, people outside, because everyone is geared towards help. So they just start to magnetically attract to each other and start to help.
And you have to realize it's a small town. It's only, I think the census says there are 9,000 people total population
Right.
there, but due to this disaster, almost 3,000 people have moved out. So there were only 6,000 people there. So pretty much everybody knew
each other, right? It was such a small community.
You would see the same person multiple times in the same
Yeah, I
day.
tell you a story. It's interesting story that when we had the clinic, we forgot. What did we forget in there? There in the clinic, and in the evening we forgot something in the clinic, and we didn't have the key.
Oh yeah, I remember.
Fans.
Our
I'll tell you
fans.
the fans. It was so hot in our clinic,
And
in
there
our
were some
residence.
bugs there too.
Yeah, and bugs. So we needed fans. So in the daytime we took fans to the clinic.
with your solar panels. No power, right?
No, there was a generator.
We got-
We
they
had
had
a
a
generator.
generator.
We
We
took
had a
generator with us.
generator.
So we didn't have fans, and we said, how are we going to sleep at night? We need those fans back. So we went back to the clinic. We said, we don't have the key.
Right.
So how are we going to do that? We went out into the near the ferry terminal. Actually, we were driving by, and we saw this lady who takes us for the home visits, the Red Cross lady. She was standing there. We told them, and she said, okay. See, she just sat with me, and we said, let's go. We'll go to Haruni's house. And we drove through the community, and it was dark at night.
Haruni
and
is
then-
the director of
He's the
tourism there.
So she took us to
Senior guy.
his house, and then he was not home, and he said, wait, don't go, don't get disheartened, let's go to his secretary's house. Then we drove to the secretary's house, and then the secretary said, okay, you go back, and you will have the key in 15 minutes. So we went back, and we went there, and 15 minutes later, she was standing there with the key, with the door open, and we got her.
Yeah, amazing people, amazing help and support and love that you feel there.
And one of the other thing we found out, which is kind of interesting, that on the island, a lot of elderly people are there, and we met few of the folks who left the mainland and came back to help their parents.
Oh yeah.
So that was very touching.
Felix was
one of them. Right,
absolutely.
Exactly. So
You remember
they're
when we went to see
Felix's house?
his mom, Dr.
Yeah.
Sarafi went there. Yeah.
yeah, for months he's just basically not working, and he's just there for
he
his
moved
parents.
back to take care of his mama.
There is no, what do you call it? There's no really hospital there, and then there's no nursing home. There's no concept of nursing home.
Yeah.
So the kids are expected, the children are expected to take care of the elderly, and there's lots of elderly.
There are a lot of elderly.
So we would go to the homes, and then we would interview, we would see the patient, and then the son is there, and the son would say, I was in New York, used to work, my parents got old, now I'm back, I'm just taking care
Yeah,
of them.
that's the thing. There's not much of a business there. There are not that many jobs there. So people just moved back to take care of their parents, elderly.
I have some questions. That's very interesting. So, how's the economy being rebuilt? You talk about they don't have money or they don't have resources. So I know that volunteering efforts are being done, but at some point, slowly the economy has to start working. What your feel was for the local economy? Is it the resources for them to start growing, or is it pretty bad right now?
Well, it's bad. I think the best hope there is tourism, and obviously there is no electricity, and there are other challenges on that particular island. So tourism has not been doing that well lately. But tourism, other private sector investments, and just people moving back.
You before the show, you touched on something that was it kind of stuck with me, which was, we go to different places for tourism. Like we go to a city and we just want to explore a beautiful, terrain and so forth, and experience thing. And you're talking about, if people started to think about Puerto Rico as I want to go vacation there, but in a spirit to help local people, which is fulfilling, for your time. So that was really something that sat with me. Did you guys look at it in that way, that instead of going to Hawaii, which is a beautiful island, Puerto Rico is as pretty, but beside just having a vacation, it's a good vacation. We're actually doing some meaningful work.
Actually, that is our next part of the next phase that we want to do. It's a really beautiful place. The views are beautiful, the weather is great, the people are really nice, and it's not as expensive as Hawaii or some other places as well. So we are thinking that we like people who want to volunteer to consider that and go there as a family.
That's very
so
powerful.
Doctors can take their families on their kids' breaks. They go there. This organization called Vieques Love, we talked to them and they said that there are vacation homes there where people own, and they're willing to give it to the volunteers who would come to stay. So they can come stay. The local organization will help the clinic arrangements. And when the family is going out vacationing, the parents who are doctors or other volunteers, they can go and help out. And the evening, of course, enjoy the place.
And from our last show, we talked about how important it is not just to have doctors there, because for every doctor, you need at least 5 or 6 other people to actually run the operation. So to your point, yes, we need more and more people from different backgrounds. Yeah. Doctors are great because they are driving a lot of this, but if you're not a doctor, you still can volunteer.
Of course. So in our teams, we had 6 to 8 people, and we usually have 1 to 2 doctors.
Right.
And everybody else was there to help support them to run the clinic.
We actually have his comments on a short video if we get a chance to see that from Mark.
From Vieques Love,
the guy who worked for Vieques Love, where he actually makes a very powerful case for people to come visit the island and volunteer there, especially in medical field.
Right. And I'm a visual person, and before the show, I think the team put together a lot of really beautiful pictures from your trip. And are we ready to put the pictures up? So I really want to hear more about those stories behind those pictures. So there we go. So I'm going to talk to me. What's going on here? It looks like a radio station. What's going on here?
Yeah. So this actually happened the first day when we were there. So we went, as we said, when we went there, we didn't have really a place to practice in a way, and then we found a place, and now we want to get the word out. So it just happens that in front of the clinic, a car came and stopped and said hello, and Salman knew this lady. She said she's from this lady, Vieques
Radio Vieques.
Radio Vieques.
Yeah,
so we told them that we just started this clinic there and we're going to see patients. And she said, okay, come sit with me. And I said, what is she doing? Sitting in, and then there was pipes sitting there, a lot of stuff in the car. So we just squeezed in, and she drove and went all the way on top of the hill. She said, this is Radio Vieques' office. And so she took us in there, and the next thing we know, there was staff there. They were recording us, and they recorded an advertisement. So she said something in Spanish, and she wanted me to say something, and then it was an advertisement, and then every hour that day and the next day they played on the radio. So that the people can come show up. So this is what was happening is the recording.
Yeah, it was a beautiful place.
And
right
another
up
thing,
and again, that goes to the point that a lot of things just happen at that moment.
Sounds like it. It's very organic.
Exactly.
Right.
Whenever there was an opportunity.
We did not plan that we were going to go to the radio station.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Once we were driving by, and we passed by kind of a beach area, and another person in another car told us there's somebody's car who's stuck in the beach. And she happened to be working for Radio Vieques, so we went to the beach, and we actually pushed her car out of the sand. Her car was stuck in the sand at the beach, and she happened to be working at Radio Vieques, so our help was not limited to just the medical services,
Right. It's almost like the sense that I continue to get is like everyone is coming together, everyone excited to help in the spirit of help. All right, so we talked about in last episode about the plane. Is that the same plane that you guys were talking about?
This is the plane we took from San Juan to Vieques.
And I see that window that the pilot was
small
holding?
plane, yep. That's the window that pilot will hold with one hand and taxi the plane with the other hand.
Can you just tell the story about the weight balancing?
Yeah, one of the funny things they have to do on small planes, I don't know much about them, but I found out at that time that they have to balance the weight on front and back of the plane and on both sides of the plane.
So they have to spot the heavy people?
I thought he was just picking on me, but I guess that's how they do work over there. So the pilot would come out and say, hey, you can sit there, and I guess you can sit there. And he would just pick people to sit on different seats. There are no assigned seats. And I'm like, why is he just doing that? And then somebody told me that he has to balance the weight. So he's picking people based on their weight.
Right.
So that was quite interesting, actually.
This is pretty cool. So we're going to, we have a lot of cool pictures. So we have a little bit of time left. So let's try to run over. What is this picture? What is this? It looks like a Red Cross. Is it?
Yeah, this is USS Comfort, Red Cross ship. So it had supplies in them.
Just like a floating hospital?
Yes, it's a floating hospital. Unfortunately, there wasn't any doctors at that time. So even though that this ship went there, in Vieques, it didn't really turn out to be a lot of help because for some reason they did not have any physicians with it.
Right.
And they have other logistic staff. They had transportation. So there were staff there which helped us to go around. So,
right.
So this is Mazhar trying to put the humanity first sign up there. And you can see Dr. Saab at the back holding the ladder, so Mazhar safety comes first.
I think this was the exciting moment. That was the moment for me.
Right.
I think that we went there and we spent 2 days trying to figure it out what we're going to do, how we're going to do, and everything went in place right at that moment.
Right.
That was the moment.
This is a beautiful shot.
And you can see the excitement on your face. Like you know, this was a big accomplishment. I mean, you see a sign, but all the operations behind it. You know, that's
exactly.
That's pretty.
And we basically went from being one doctor sitting under a tree in the town square and other people helping him with a bag full of medicine, to this beautiful building, which was an old school, in the main town square. So we like within a day we have the nicest building, we have more doctors, we have more medicines, more volunteers than anybody else in there. That really helped.
That's amazing.
That helped establish our credibility as a medical practice, get the word out, and when people came on, they see, you know, this is...
So the radio and the facility, and now we see a lot of patients
sign up.
sitting. Is that the same facility?
Yes, same facility, and then they, you know, we had volunteers.
And I see like they're local volunteers, right?
Exactly. And then we had this is actually a registration desk. So we were surprised that by the time we opened the clinic the first day, we had 3 families already sitting there to be seen when we arrived.
Right.
Now, the clinic, we advertised that the clinic was going to be open at 9 o'clock, and some of these people showed up at 8.
So that's how, going back to the original point, like the people are just, there's so much need there.
Exactly.
If they're here, they're just ready to come there.
Yeah.
That's really powerful.
So these are all the medicine that we had to bring from the mainland over to. So we set up inside the medical clinic. We set up desks where we kind of put it so we can see it. So Dr. Saab can see it where everything is and kind of grab it.
And this is what you use the ferry to bring the medicine, because the medicine look a little bit scared of the ferry. You know?
So yeah, we actually had the largest pharmacy in town. So we had all the medicines you can think of which they would need. So we were able to go through them because since we do this gift of health trips already, so we kind of know what the patients normally need in a general practice in this type of an environment. So we have a lot of medicines for hypertension, diabetes, asthma, and as the clinic went, as you know, this clinic was going on for almost a month and a half when we went.
Wow.
So we already have a good idea what they would need. So we were well stocked.
And this is you in action. You know, I see.
Yeah, this is one of the patients I'm seeing, and interestingly, he is actually in charge of the local ambulance service.
So I was scared that he was probably arresting you, like, you know, for your operations there.
That was my patient.
He was posing for the camera.
Posing for the camera.
So not only that we helped him, but also then he gave us the right contacts, so that we can, if they're for emergencies, we can call ambulance service.
And that's where you call in the actual ambulance service here.
Yes, and this lady actually had throat cancer, so she came in to the clinic to get some help, and that's when Dr. Lughmani suggested that we should call the ambulance, and we called the ambulance, and they showed up in like 10 minutes, and finally.
But she could not breathe. She could not breathe. She was choking, and they thought it's asthma attack. Came to me, said, give nebulizer treatment. I said, that does not look like asthma.
Is nebulizer where you...
Yeah, nebulizer treatment is a treatment for asthma for the lungs if you are wheezing. But she had stridor, which means that her throat was closing.
Got it.
And she needed help in the hospital. So we quickly informed the ambulance service, which you can only reach them by their cell phone. There's no real good way of reaching them there. So we were able to informed them, and they came and took her.
So this is an interesting picture. We were talking about, is that a toolbox to fix the car, or what is the toolbox there?
No, actually, no. This is when we finished the clinic, the next thing was that these Red Cross staffers, these two nice women there who have a Jeep, and the Red Cross actually helps us to identify patients who needed to be seen at home. So we are preparing for home visits.
So what you were mentioning about?
So Dr. Lughmani Saab said, hey, look, we do home visits, so we need something to carry, because right now we're just using shopping bags. So bring something, and I'm looking around the house, I couldn't find anything. I found the toolbox. I was like, okay, we could use this as a medical.
So it's a medical toolbox.
Exactly.
Hey, you have to improvise.
Right.
Yeah, it has dressing, scissors, some common medicines, thermometer, stethoscope, blood pressure, all those things were in there.
So Mazhar bhai and Mani, what's going on in this picture?
Well, to the left we have Duke. He was another member of our team. And what were you doing with the water?
Is this part of humanity?
Yeah, I think that's part of our visits. We our other partners, when we made house visits, they will have cases of bottled water with them. So this gentleman that was there in the house that we visited for to see a patient, so he was there, so we just gave him a case of bottled water, and we wanted to take a picture of him, and
yeah,
said,
he's
wait a minute.
He's
no,
like,
you can't
don't
just
take a picture, let me get my cap on. So he went in and got...
He's a Korean War veteran, so he said, okay, I want to make sure that I have my Korean War veteran hat on before you take my picture. And we had a good conversation.
Right.
Very interesting guy.
One of the things that, us we take things for granted. For example, we were on the island, right? You would think the water is not an issue, right? But the water is contaminated. So these people didn't even have water to drink. And part of the house visit, that's one of the other thing we did is we carry bottled water so we can give it to them wherever we could. So he was very appreciative of
and
us
other supplies too.
Yeah,
sometimes they have napkins and other basic supplies, basic things that they would provide as part of the house call, in addition to providing. And I think that's what Naeem was referring to, the other services.
Another thing, the trip basically changed your perspective about things that you have, like a bottle of water. You won't look at that water the same, Like clean water, not everybody has access to that. So it makes you appreciate that more.
Right, so we take it for granted, the power, the water, the day-to-day life, but over there that means a lot. So the last picture here looks like you guys are smiling, and I see a building facility behind.
One of the most interesting selfies we took over there.
You gotta have a selfie, right?
You gotta have a selfie. Yeah, you can't finish the trip without a good selfie.
This is the old San Juan, and the
back on
back
the main island.
This
is not a Vieques. This is
not Vieques, because we were ready to fly out, and we took the opportunity and stop at the old castle. So this is just a picture on our way to the airport.
Right, guys. I mean, this is amazing. It almost feels like I was there, hearing these stories. And what's really inspiring is how people are coming together and helping. And also, it looks like, from the last week's conversation and this week's conversation, it is just a matter of going, either donating or volunteering. Just list yourself as a volunteer when there's an opportunity, dedicated time, and go. You don't need to plan, because we keep thinking about, like, how can I plan this? And I put myself in that boat too, right? So I'm like, I need a lot of planning. No, just volunteer and go, and you'll figure things out as we go.
Yeah, you go there, show up with your whatever you have, and then just figure it out. There are all sorts of help people.
And the one thing that I found, that there was not a moment of a dull, right? I mean, constantly there was something going on, something that we were looking after, something we were helping. So it was constant on the go. So which was kind of good, because you're not sitting idle. You're doing something to help others. So
next time, let's say, if you get an opportunity to go to Europe or volunteer, just based off of fun, what would you pick?
I think sometimes you travel the world to see the difference.
Right.
You go to exotic places, you go to new places, new countries. Sometimes you visit the world to be the difference.
That's really
So
powerful.
this was one of the places where you could combine both.
Both,
You
yeah.
see the difference and you be the difference.
Right.
And anytime you have an opportunity to do that, don't miss it.
And with that, I mean, we're running out of time, and that's really powerful note, right? And I again, with this theme, I think there's a lot of power there where you can think about, meaningful time spent. Because again, vacation, like you were saying, is nothing more than experiencing something new, something different, and you can have a wonderful time by giving. That takes your vacation or your time well spent and take it to the next level. So with that, guys, this is it for tonight. We really appreciate our guests and coming there, sharing their stories, sharing their pictures, sharing their time, inspiring us. So make sure to go to Humanity First USA website, click on the donate button and volunteer yourself and get started. I know I will be. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Wonderful. Great job, man.
Thank you.